Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I'm doing my March review and April forecast. As always, there are timestamps in the description below and a link to the forum if you'd rather read through next month's side event for yourself. That said, let's dive into March. Now, March was inevitably a slow month. We didn't get any new content. It was a 5-week month. So if you're like, wow, this feels like I've been grinding energy or revives or doing non-side event or monthly event stuff for a long time, you were right. You did have an extra week of that. And it really did feel like a drag. Now, on one side, there were plenty of bugs and issues with the Odin's Gauntlet, but that did mean we saw crazy accessible tiers 8 and 9, and then tier 10 is memeable. So, like, as far as side event rewards and accessibility, if you're in the lower tiers of gameplay, you know, you're still on that progression side, rewards are great this month for you. If you're at the end game looking for the challenge, looking for something fun and exciting, then this month was probably very grindy for you, but at least it was fast. At least you didn't have to do some stupid solo objective on the daily basis to get a key to enter the side event. Hint, hint, next month. Overall, I would say that March was okay. Like I said, the rewards were reasonable. I think they handled the bugs fairly well. And Odin and Mangog were reasonable additions to the contest. Overall, like I said, March did good. I think my biggest complaint about March is that whenever there's a 5-week month, which happens twice a year, Kabam should really plan some kind of additional content to launch in the last 2 weeks of the month, because we know for a fact it's going to get stale for the players. Typically speaking, new month drops and there's like 2 weeks of not so stale and then 2 weeks of like semi trying to ride, you know, the train from the beginning of the month. But on a 5-week month, there are 3 weeks where players are just sitting there bored. So it would be nice to have some kind of boss rush or extra challenge or something on those 5-week months, which we know happens twice a year. So Kabam, if you're listening, start planning now. You know another one's coming later in the year. I'm just dropping it out there. That said, let me dive into April's month. So April month is Ain't No Party Like a Plat Pool Party. And I do got to give props to Kabam. They did a really good job of like properly dropping the TLDR and explaining the month, because it's a little complicated. So essentially, complete solo objectives. This will give you entry keys. And the solo objectives, you get 1 a day. So once every day you get a solo objective, and you keep that objective for the rest of the month. So you don't have to complete it on the same day, but you at least have to log in to get the solo objective. Once you complete it, you get a key. You use that key to open the quest. If you run the path, you get rewards, and then you do that all month, a total of 28 times. It's not so bad. In my experience, these are the worst events. This is probably, I think, 3rd worst in my list of types of events that we see. Any event where, in order to even enter the event, you have to do something in a solo objective is just so incredibly grindy. And I bring up the same solution every single time. Give us a week's worth of objectives at the beginning of every week. That way we're not having to log in every day. And I already log in every day, but at least now I can knock out all 7 attempts at the start of the week and then run it at my leisure at any day of the week. Because inevitably that means anybody who wants to claim all of the keys and do all of it will have to do the last week's worth of keys at some point, you know, at the very least 1 run on the last day. And that's just not great for planning. People got lives, people want to organize or do this event elsewhere. And what matters then is that each run feels individually worthwhile, so people aren't just skipping the event saying, screw it, it wasn't worth my time. Which, sorry to break it to you, probably isn't going to happen this month because the rewards ain't looking so great. But yeah, it's a very, very simple solution. We already know weekly objectives exist. Just give us 7 weeklies right at the start of every week, and then make it so they don't carry through the month. You know, say we only have 1 week to do it. That's fine. Put that limit down. But it's as practically efficient as the 1 a day, because players already have incentive to log in once a day with like the calendar, etc. We don't need more incentive to log in every day. Trust me, the players who are taking this game seriously and actively playing, we already do it. So just a small thing. But after that, the event itself doesn't look so bad. The fights are optional, so from a gathering the resources, there might be some min-maxing, people skipping things like gold to have a faster run. It is going to be a 3-champion side quest, which means that's how they're balancing and tuning it, because all of these fights that they've listed here, none of them look particularly hard. I only did a quick glance over, but I probably am just going to come in here with a Ghost Trinity every single time, and looking at the fights themselves, except for Jabari Panther and Silver Centurion, who I don't really know what they're going to look like yet. I think I'm going to try to do a 4-star run and maybe a 3-star run. I know for sure I can get a 4-star run in based on these nodes. I'm not too confident about the 3-star, but we'll see. So from an accessibility standpoint, next month is looking pretty good. And as far as how they did this, I think this is really nice. They told us the nodes up front, they told us the champions up front, and then they added an RNG element to it. Nothing in the RNG element here looks too brutal. It looks super reasonable. I think the node combinations are super awesome. I didn't see anything too crazy, but I'll have to actually do the fights to confirm. But like I said, I do think you can probably use Ghost Trinity every single path, so I am looking forward to that. And then the rewards are RNG. And this is where things get a little whack. Although I will make another comment, the fact that they gave us the nodes here in the forum is awesome, because we don't always get that. So it's really good for people who need to properly plan and aren't just going to go in like pseudo blind like I plan on doing. But for the rewards, it's a little complicated. So I have a spreadsheet, of course, but know that if you run the rewards in full earnest, you'll probably grab all of these for free, just assuming you run the highest difficulty or even the second highest difficulty every single time. I do believe you'll get all the way up to the 5-star Awakening Gem. To get the Awakening Gem, you might need to run a little bit of Legendary. I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe, yep, it says Epic or greater. So if you just run Epic, you get at least a 5-star Awakening Gem. That's going to bring me to my Excel sheet. So for my Excel sheet here, both categories. Ooh, that's not what we want. Both groups, Epic and Legendary runners, so Cavalier and Thronebreaker runners, or Uncollected and Cavalier runners, are going to get a featured 5-star crystal, 0.25 of the tier 5 basic, and 5-star Awakening Gem crystal. This is important to keep in mind when you're looking at the 5-star shards. Now, I know people are like, oh, it's RNG, so it's going to be plus or minus for everybody. And I'll put that disclaimer here, but that does not mean we don't have a rough average, an estimate of what the rewards are going to be. Because it is 7 loot drops, 28 days. We know that you just have to take the percentage chance that you're going to get the reward, take the quantity of the reward, convert it into a percentile for easy tracking, and then multiply by 28, multiply by 7. This is your average rewards. It's not as random as it sounds. Yes, there's going to be plus or minus. Yes, some people are going to get crazy pulls, but on average, 40 to 60% of the time, people are going to get something similar to this spread. And when I look at this spread, it is bad. Like, I'm not excited about next month's rewards. I feel like Kabam took the opportunity of taking this crazy overcomplicated system where they're like, it's 7 drops, it's random, here's the percentages, here's these whack AF drops and quantities, because the quantities themselves are wild. And then you have to do it 28 days for like the average or typical player who's maybe not interested in the math. It is difficult to guess how much you're actually getting or how much you might roughly be looking at. Not for me. Spreadsheet form. If you're an Epic, the major point outs I want to show is that you're still getting the 1 standard tier 2 alpha. Between the tier 5 basic you have to get by running Epic all month, plus the tier 5 basic you on average get, you're getting about 0.38 tier 5 basic, which is a little less than we're used to seeing. You are getting more tier 4 basic and tier 1 alpha than we typically see, but this also means you're getting 0.147 6-star shards, 0.76 5-star shards, in addition to the 1 featured crystal. But I feel like when we see featured crystals accessible to Epic, it's usually 2 5-star crystals. It's 1 plus 1. So it does feel a little short. I felt like the game had been inflating the rewards for a long while, nice and consistent, and suddenly it feels like we're missing the mark. 25-star signature stones, a decent chunk of tier 4 CC. So across the board, Epic actually looks like mostly okay. It just still feels a little shy. I don't think this featured 5-star crystal really makes up for the miss. Especially since like 5-star awakening gems, tier 5 basic, you know, and the quarter amount, these are standard parts of the monthly event. So seeing that here, especially on something that's so overly complicated, it just feels bad, especially when you think that there are going to be people who are getting less than this. And I feel like on an event where you're relying on the law of averages to like keep it balanced, yes, there's going to be people who get lucky, good for them, but for the people who have bad RNG, it's going to feel really bad because the average number is already low. Another example here is for the legendary players. Now, typically speaking, we are used to getting 2 tier 2 alpha. This month, the average is 1.6. That means a majority of the players are getting less tier 2 alpha this month than we are used to seeing. We're also getting a little less tier 5 basic than we're used to seeing. Just on average, that means the majority of the player base is just getting less on the higher rank materials that we're actively looking for. We're seeing 0.5 6-star shards and 1.3 on the 5-star shards. And I do think like the 5-star shards and 6-star shards, they're okay. It just, again, I feel like we needed to be pushing towards the 7,500, the 10,000 6-star shards average. And this is nowhere near that. You could make the argument that last month, I think we had 7,500. So this is, but the month prior we had 0.5. So you could argue that 2 months ago, this is higher. But I feel like we needed to be pushing towards 7,500 anyways. From a side event standpoint, it's tough for me to get excited about this when I feel like the numbers have gone down. And I would be less upset about that. I really would if I felt like it didn't feel underhanded because of the complexity in which they've delivered the rewards, that like if you don't properly know how to pull out this average math and then look at it and evaluate it, like you would never know. You would never know that we're getting shortchanged on tier 2 alpha. You would never know that the 6-star shards compared to last month are down. The 5-star shards compared to last month are down. Like, and the 6 stones are down, and it's heavily weighted towards 5-star 6-stone crystals, where we're used to seeing a relative generic split. And even when we don't see a generic split, like it's 1/3, 2/3, it's 1/3, 2/3. This is worse than 1/3, 2/3. Slightly, but slightly is a big difference, especially when you're working on RNG here. So that said, rant over. It's not bad. I'll still run the side event in completion, but it's not slick and it feels dirty. And I wish that these averages across the board were a little bit better. And to tackle it from a solution standpoint, which I do prefer, I don't think any of it was necessary. Not for a second do I think we needed this RNG, because it is super, super easy to avoid. They could have given us total value numbers then, and then there's no RNG in the rewards. They could have given us flat rewards and still kept their super cool idea of having the rewards be on the path. Here's how you do it. Ready? You make the rewards static, you put them on the path, and then that's it. You multiply it by 28. That's your total rewards. And you might say, oh, but Jay, there's more than 7 reward options. Then you just put the ones that don't matter on the path. You put gold, tier 1 alpha, tier 4 basic on the path. We don't need to RNG that. You just narrow it down to 7 fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10. You put 3 of these on the path. Or even better, put 3 of them on the completion, so that once people knock out the boss, at base they can get gold, tier 1 alpha, tier 4 basic, or gold, and both the 6 stones are attached to just completing the boss. Something along those lines. Maybe the 5-star shards and the 6-star shards are locked behind the boss. That way, if people just want to bum rush shards, then all they have to do is the boss. Simple. And now there's no complexity in the reward system. There's no RNG applied. We don't have to think, oh, some people are going to get lucky and some people aren't. We can all just look at the total rewards and say, yeah, that's worth my time. Or say, no, I think I'll skip a couple of the side event this month just to save on my time. Rant over. Sorry. To me, that's the biggest flaw. If you're excited about RNG rewards because you get lucky with these things, good for you. But these things drive me nuts. I have terrible RNG. And whenever I see RNG rewards, it just rips a part of my heart out. As always, though, I hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.